You'll never conquer fear until you get out of environments that are full of fear. You see, if you're in an environment where people are all afraid, down on the inside, where they're feeling fearful about their existence, where they're feeling fearful about their well being, if they're feeling fearful about whether they can just pay their bills and whether they're going to survive, if you are in an environment where people are fearful, you will never conquer your fear. You got to understand that your environment is sending signals to us. Our environment is always sending signals. And whatever those signals are saying, we as receivers, human beings are receivers and transmitters. So whatever signals we're receiving from our environment, we take that information in and we become what our environment begins to project. Your environment is huge. It's a key point in nurturing and growing who we are. Your well-being, my well-being, is not only determined by what we think, but it's also determined by our environment. So if we're in toxic, fearful, full of depression, full of anger, full of hurt, full of doubt, full of all of the things that we typically realize and have come to understand that are not good for us, when we're living in those environments, we take those things on. They become natural parts of our personality. They become personality traits. They become part of our character because that's what we are being nurtured in. Those are the signals that are constantly being transmitted to us, and we are receiving those signals. Now, it is possible not to receive those signals, but it takes a strong sense of identity, a strong sense of self-worth, and a strong sense of vision. You must have lots of clarity and a strong vision of who you are and the destination that you are going. The destination that you want to arrive at, because that destination is going to determine your direction. But if you are in an environment that's constantly signaling fear, be afraid, worry, be anxious, if that environment is constantly signaling that to you, it's going to raise your anxiety levels. It's going to create a feeling of being in survival mode because you're getting a feeling, a signal from the environment that there's danger. And there may not be any danger. The signal is being sent from other people, from the different things that are going on. It's signaling, like growing up in a tough neighborhood where there's lots of crime and there's lots of worry and trouble and people are struggling. When you grow up that environment, that's a signal that you receive. When you grow up in a house where your parents were constantly worrying about bills and worrying about how things are going to be taken care of, and your father and mother probably fighting and your siblings fighting, and there was always just this sense of worry about how things were going to get taken care of and how things were going to get done. Those are signals being sent to you. So you are, as a child, growing up in that environment and you're receiving that. Now, fast forward, you are an adult and you are still in environments where there's lots of fear. Maybe your job. Maybe there's fear that people are going to get laid off. Maybe there's fear that that the company's going to go under. Maybe within the marriage or in your relationship, there's a fear that someone is going to be cheating, or there's a fear that, you can't pay the bills and pay the mortgage and pay rent. There's still a feeling of fear. Maybe you hang out with different people, and in your circle, everyone is afraid. They're always talking about how things aren't going to work out, and they're talking about the government and so many different things. They're, continuously speaking on how bad things are. It's fear. That's in your environment. And when you are in an environment that's constantly sending you a signal that you should be afraid, you will never be able to conquer your fear. And the key is to get into an environment where there is less talk about fear and there's more talk about achievement and winning and getting to the next level and believing that you can make it and believing that you will survive and believing that things are going to be taken care of and believing that things are going to be okay. That's an environment. Those are signals that are being sent. They're both signals. And it is your choice. It's my choice. It's our decision and it's our ability to choose the environment that we want to be in. So the question I have for you today, what environment are you going to choose? Are you going to choose fear or are you going to choose faith as the environment that you live in?